I've got more than a year experience in sports card investing. I've got the best online tools to help me keep up with the current price movements. I don't make rookie mistakes and buy into the hype. Does all this sound familiar? Does it sound like you? Well, I'm here to share with you today 3 mistakes that even an experienced card investor like yourself would fall into. What's up YouTube, Card Boss here. We talk about everything cards, money, investing. Alright, let's go. Before I begin, I'm going to make several assumptions. First, I assume more than half the viewers of this video have invested in sports cards for at least close to a year, perhaps starting out around the start of the NBA bubble games in late July, early August. If that was the case, you probably enjoyed 2 peaks of August and February of this year, perhaps making handsome returns and feeling pretty good about yourself back then. My second assumption is more than half of you at some point in the last 6 months have diversified outside classic sports of basketball, baseball, and football to either Pokemon, Marvel Universe, soccer, or even comic books. And my final assumption is more than half of you own at least one expensive card, which you bought or traded for, which you might have overpaid for it, and with the prices trending down today, you are itching to sell it to recoup costs. So let us begin. I guess when you try to describe the phrase experienced investor, you can fall in a category anywhere between 1 to 20, even 30 years experience. A lot of people who entered in hobby late 2019 would like to refer to themselves as experienced, and sometimes I've seen this group even taking shots at the real OGs who have been in the market for 20 or so years. But that all counts for nothing if you're doing one or more of these 3 things. Technology these days are wonderful. We got apps and tools that provide us with so much data for us to make decisions, whether you're sitting behind a laptop or browsing through your phone when you're on a bus or live at a sports car show. These data we use is referred to as comparison pricings or comps. Comps give both the buyer and seller an indication of what the perceived market value of an item would be, looking back to say a week's worth of data and averaging it out. Sellers are at a disadvantage when it comes to comps, as their price ceiling is capped at a comp level, which leaves the buyer plenty of room to push downwards. What the sellers are mindful during any price negotiations would be the cost base he or she paid for that item to determine if it's worth selling at a particular price to take profits off the table. We've all been through that process, going back and forth, 85% of comps, 70% of comps, etc. So comps facilitate fair pricing in a transaction, we get that. But here's where I have a problem. Buyers and sellers these days are over-relying on comps to make transaction decisions. Some buyers are dead set on not paying anything more than 85% above comps. In fact, sometimes debating to the seller that the seller would not receive more than what the buyer has to offer had he gone to sell it on a platform like eBay. Obviously, the same is going through the seller's mind, and both process the transaction based on a series of computations. But let's throw a question out there. What if all transactions are done based on comps alone? Where is the growth? And how will market price increase? Something has to move the needle in order to make the market trend upwards. When Luka is having a great season and card prices are going up, it's not Luka's doing. Obviously, someone is paying above current comps. And why is that? It's because they see the future potential in that player and willing to pay above comps because he believes Luka's prices will go up further. Whether this person is a collector, speculator, or investor, who knows? But the point is, why are experienced investors stuck in the mud, making deals based on comps when they are the ones that should be analyzing the card value for its potential rather than the price that it was sold a week ago? Real experienced investors should be hardwired with foresight and intuition to make forward decisions as opposed to relying on comps to transact. We have seen this before. Half of us probably experienced this firsthand as well. We started out small, followed plenty of good general advice, and built our bankroll. And after a few months, when we hit that magic number, we make our first big splash into a $30,000 card. I may be wrong, but I believe for a lot of us, our first big splash is generally our biggest regret in our investing journey. A lot of emotions go into that first big transaction. We tell ourselves We've worked so hard in the last few months just building equity, and finally we have a chance to get something really big, really cool, and really expensive. Now, I don't have any issues from a collector's perspective, but as an investor, throwing all that gas into one big chip just opens the door to the ultimate danger for any card investor: liquidity. When you pause to look at another asset class like rental real estate, it doesn't matter how expensive your rental property is, because the yield on your rental income will generally be the same. Of course, high-end properties are generally less liquid when it comes to selling compared to standard housing. But while you're waiting for the next buyer to buy your high-end condo at a profit, you're still enjoying the cash flows while you wait. But it's not the same for sports cards. With no income yield, your investment is generally stuck, and growth and profit is only realized when you sell. Of course, this is a non-issue with investors that have a super large bankroll, but I'm looking at you guys with a portfolio size of, say, $100,000 or less, with $60,000 trapped in 2 or 3 cards. And given the downswing now, your portfolio liquidity is stretched to the max, as you have very little fluid equity to work with. End of the day, I'm not saying you shouldn't buy any high-end stuff, but you have to be cautious with your portfolio management in size and liquidity before jumping in emotionally to a card that catches your heart. We figured we are experienced sports card investors, and we can apply our knowledge to any other genres outside the core sports of basketball, baseball, and football. So here you are, doing some homework on Pokemon or Marvel Universe before investing some serious dollars, and later on discovering you just got yourself into a hole, not knowing what to do. And the best part is that I hear some of you guys would say, "Oh, it's part of the learning experience." I've watched a lot of YouTube content on experienced sports card guys going to new markets or genres such as Pokemon or Marvel, and they haven't got a clue what's going on. They're applying the same basic principles, i.e. checking comms, or just echoing what some of the other content creators in those genres are saying. But you have to wonder, why are these investors not replicating their body of work on these new genres like how they did when they first started out on sports cards? I'm not saying none of them do, but it's evident especially on investors branching out to Pokemon, not fully understanding its rich history, the rules of the game, or even play a single game of it. In order to be a successful sports card investor, you need to live and breathe the sport. Hence, that's why I'm focused on NBA, because that's my thing. And I don't have the interest and the time or headspace on any other key sports to be really focused on it. And for that same reason, how can you be a Pokemon card investor if all you do is just looking at comps and YouTube videos? It's just trouble waiting to happen. Take the iconic PSA 10 first edition Charizard for example. At one point, it was said it would hit 1 million one day. This price point is obviously not targeting the general population of Pokemon players, who are majority A, less than 30 years of age, and B, don't have that kind of disposable income, and they are in the game because they enjoy playing the game, not investing in it. The real targets for such high-end pieces would be the 40-year-olds who have made it today and would like to relive a piece of their childhood nostalgia and willing to pay a lot of money for such an item. This group is just a sliver of the perceived Pokemon population. You're not investing in Pokemon, you're essentially fishing, waiting for the big score. Nothing against what you're doing, but it again comes back down to my earlier point, which I made on liquidity. Can you afford to sit on so much capital on your secondary game plan for far too long, while the rest of the sports card market revolves around you? So there you have it. Common mistakes we make as an experienced sports card investor. I'm keen to hear what you guys think, whether you agree or disagree with my thoughts. So let me know in the comments below whether any of these applies to you. So if you guys like this video and found it very useful, do like and subscribe for more content in the future. I will be putting up similar videos, so do watch out for that. Thanks and have a great day.